Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexi Odds here, Saturday morning. So it's the Share the Love Club. This is a segment on this channel once a week on Saturday. We like to celebrate somebody associated with the Raptors in some sort of way. It's not always a player. Sometimes last week it was Josh Lewenberg. We've also, or Dr. Alex McKechnie last week, Josh Lewenberg. We did Monique a couple weeks ago as a super fan, Monique. We're just celebrating people around the Raptors organization, and we're trying to do different people all the time. This was really inspired by Scotty Barnes and Gary Trent Jr. at the end of last season, talking about how this world needs more people to share the love. There's enough hating and hate going around. So we're doing the opposite. We're practicing sharing the love. And today we want to honor somebody this year that was an heralded hero on the Raptors organization, somebody who's had a long road in the NBA to get somewhere and do something in it. And he's been working and not giving up. And he is on the cusp of making that dream come true and getting a full-time NBA contract this summer. Now, we don't know this for sure. And in fact, I just looked at his Instagram and he's scrubbed it of any ties to Toronto Raptors just in case he doesn't get catched by us in the safety net of this summer. But Masai Ujiri has very vocally said that he is a part of our plans going forward. So we can expect the Raptors to make an offer to Jeff Dowtin Jr. and for him to be in our fold still for next season on our roster. That's not for sure. And there could be different things that happen this summer that change things, but he said it himself out of his words. That is what Masai said, that Jeffrey is in our plans. So we trust in Masai, and he usually says what he means. And I could see this being very, very much true. In fact, part of my inspiration for doing Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. this week for Share the Love Club is the podcast with Chris Boucher and Mike Roach, where Mike Roach said that Masai has said that he would like to keep Jeff for next year. And Chris had a very, very fun, positive reaction to it, where he's like, he said that we're keeping Jeff. Oh, yes. And Chris was like that. That's kind of what inspired me to do this. Because in some ways, listen, I want to honor Jeff Dowtin Jr. no matter what, even if he doesn't come back next year. But I am pretty positive for sure that Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. will be in a Raptors jersey next year, and it won't be under a two-way contract. Now, if it is under a two-way contract again, that may get a little old to him. In fact, on his Instagram, it's interesting. Jeff has a picture that he has posted that says, if you're not going in circles, you just need to see it differently. And we can understand why Jeffrey may feel like this because of the first few years he's been in the league. I don't know if y'all know this, but Jeff came into the NBA in 2020, and he first started with the Lakeland Magic, and they kind of jerked him around a little bit. He didn't get anywhere there, but then he did win a G League championship with the Lakeland Magic against the Delaware Coats, so that was pretty cool. And then he was with the Golden State Warriors in their organization, and he actually got to play a couple games for Golden State at that time in 21-22. 4 games played for Golden State, 1 game for Milwaukee, and 4 games for Orlando. So he was kind of all over the place in his year in 21-22, playing for 3 different organizations and kind of jumping around. Well, he was happy to kind of get anchored with the Raptors this season. And, he did a lot of really good work at 905. In fact, we saw leaps and bounds with his development and his confidence this past season playing under Eric Curry on the Raptors 905. He was definitely the floor general and general captain and leader of that team this year, if you ask me. In some ways, very much leading them and being that steady presence on the court very often for the 905 in games. Now, he had 50 eligible games to play for the Raptors on the main roster, and he only got to use 25 of them. But it was great to see. And Jeffrey, he got 61 of his 80 points in his career for his NBA career on the Raptors this year. So this was definitely the most fruitful, productive year for him so far in his pro career. And it's expanded, and I think that he carved himself out a role on our team. Now, words mean what they mean. And hopefully, like we said, we trust Masai, and he means what he says. He says what he means. So this summer, we should expect him to be re-signed and back on the Raptors next year. I think a lot of fans would feel really like stupid if we didn't do this. Like if Jeff wasn't coming back to us next year and on our team, we'd be like, we really failed. Why didn't we not keep Jeff Dowtin? Is this because we didn't convert his two-way contract at the end of the season and make him a full roster person? We could have a lot of questions if we let Jeffrey Dowtin slip through the cracks. So it's very, very important, Masai and Bobby, that you do come through with your word. Don't get Chris's hopes up. Don't let all of our hopes get up that Jeffrey's coming back. And especially don't get Jeffrey's hopes up. Bring him back and make it happen as soon as you can. So there's no questioning ifs, ands, or buts. Because in some ways, Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. has been in a questionable place his whole entire pro career so far. And he just in some ways aches for some sort of for real, like very like concrete moorings in the league in some ways, as far as getting a contract with a couple of years that will pay him pretty decently. As a G leaguer, 905er, a two-way contract, he hasn't earned a lot of money as a pro so far in the league. And, if he signs a deal this summer, that could be very changing kind of money for his life. And that'll be very good for him. He deserves it. He's worked very, very hard. It's like Chris Boucher and Mike Roach said on the Hustle Play podcast this week. He is an NBA player. You can see it in him. We can see it. When he showed up last summer on our summer league roster, I was delighted because, we were talking about something that we needed more on the team. It was consistency off our bench, just a little bit more sound decision-making, smart play from bench players on our bench because we had such a bad bench the year before. Well, I believe that Jeff Dowtin was the answers to some of those questions because if there's one word that describes Jeffrey Dowtin Jr., it's consistency. And that's the thing where he gives you a certain level of play that's not going to make a lot of mistakes, but it's going to do a lot of good decisions and smart decisions. They may not be flashy. They may not be big time, but quite often they're the right decision and they're very successful. And that was something that I really valued about Jeff. I was like, this dude, we need to keep him right away. And that signaled it by them signing him to a two-way contract for next year, for last year, in the summer last year, for last year. That was a big move. And I was like, yes, this is smart, Bobby. This is the dude I can see out of all those guys in summer league that this is the guy we need to go and look at and keep him around for this year. And well, he did really well at summer league. He was playing very consistently for 905 for the most part. In fact, big part of wins, close wins at times, being a leader, as I said, and keeping things settled down on that 905 team. You can ask Eric Curry about the role of Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. on his team this year, and he could say that he's probably essential for some of the things that we were doing as far as keeping us calm and playing maturely as a G League team. Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. is that guy. Now, we saw it on that G League level, and I saw it in little bits on the NBA level too, and it made a lot of us fans, Raptor fans, really calling out for Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. off the bench over and over again all year. But our calls were not heard. And quite often, Nick Nurse would ignore them. They ignored Jeffrey Dowtin in particular. This is what didn't make sense to me at all. You got this guy showing all this consistency, making right decisions, being real smart with the ball, helping other guys get set up, making nice, easy, high percentage shots. Why wouldn't you try and use him more on your bench in the Raptors, Nick Nurse? And it kind of really pissed me off and frustrated me all season long. Play Jeff, play Jeff. We would call Nick after the game and say, why aren't you playing Jeffrey Dowtin Jr.? Come on, man. Jeez. In some ways, that was the fail of Nick Nurse, that he didn't get more of the consistency and great play of Jeffrey into our bench play on the main roster because he could have helped some of the stuff that we weren't good at with our bench. He seriously could have. He is a very capable player, and I wouldn't mind playing. I wouldn't be afraid to play him in the playoffs. He's got that kind of tenacity and smarts and wits about him that you can throw him into the fire and it won't be any different for him. He will play a good, consistent, smart level of play with very little mistakes. And that's all we're asking of him. Some people question the last year, is he a good defender? Well, I think he's an amazing defender. He's always in that good crouch, always got his hands active. He's always got his head moving like this. And that's usually a sign that this guy's engaged and active and he's not loafing on defense. And he was such a good on-ball defender. At some points last year, we had little guards tearing us up, getting the ball down the court too quick, and nobody picking them up while they get all the way to the fucking lane. And then there's an easy transition basket on the Raptors. I hated that. That's why I wanted Jeff out there, because I felt like he could have been that guy who kind of stopped the ball with its progression down the court so quickly. Just get in the way, Jeff. Boom, right there. Jeff's in the way, and it slows the ball handler down for the other team. That was something that Nick didn't use him for either. So I'm really happy about Jeff's work this past year. I am upset, just like everybody else, that he didn't get converted from his two-way. And in some ways, he did deserve that. And that's something we talked about. And as far as with the organization, you want to show that you give rewards to people for doing good jobs. Well, he did a good job. He deserved a reward, but he didn't get the reward. In some ways, that's a bad message by the Raptors to the other players about, if you excel and do well, it was an organizational decision, and it made sense, I guess, for whatever reason Masai and Bobby did it. But they wanted to make very clear to Jeffrey when they decided not to do it what he is in our plans, that we do want to sign him this summer, and we'll make up for him not getting converted at the end of the year. That it'll all be all right, Jeff. Just trust us. In the summertime, we're going to come get you with a multi-year contract so you can be on this team for a few years, and we can really see how you may be able to develop into a backup point guard for us off the bench, because that's really what he is. A lot of people are saying the Raptors need a good backup point guard for their team. Well, Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. could be that guy if we just trusted in him and invested money and time on him on the court. And I think he will be that guy next year. I think that he will be our backup point guard, and he will see regular minutes under our new coach. And I'm very excited about it. He's a great young man, and he deserves to be a full-time NBA player. That's the thing about that thing I said on Instagram, where he says, you're not going in circles. You just need to see it differently. Sure, it may seem like a two-way into a two-way into a two-way from Orlando to Milwaukee to Golden State to Toronto is going in circles, but you are actually elevating each time, coming up the levels. And that is exactly right, Jeffrey. And that's what I'm saying. You're about to emerge up onto a level where you're going to get to see the light and hopefully be a big part of the Toronto Raptors rotation for 2023-2024 season. That is what I wish for you, my good friend. That is what I wish for you for sure. Hardworking, great player from Rhode Island, Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. All right, let me check in with y'all's comments after my rant. Talking about Jeffrey. There's a lot of stuff to talk about around the NBA also. So yeah, we've been talking about the playoffs last night and some of the drama. And also I'll have the ref report for you guys. And we've also got Raptors social media watch talking about what the Raptors were doing on Instagram yesterday. All right, let's see. Mike is first in. Salute the real ones. Project Truth always. Mike's in the house. Logical Raptors fanatic. Check out his channel today, 2:00. He will be dropping his next content. 2:00 is his time on Saturday, and we're looking forward to seeing what you're doing this week, Mike. So check out his channel, Logical Raptors fanatic. Great Raptors content there. Very fact-oriented, very stat-based, very, very, very well done stuff by Mike on Logical Raptors Fanatics channel. Salute the real ones, Project Truth always. Dowtin will be on our team next year. Zero doubts at the moment. We cannot, what? Masai's just going to come out and let us down? He's going to say this in the end of the season press conference and say, yeah, Jeff is in our plans for next year. And then he's not going to do it. I mean, there are weird ways where things could get in between that, because if some certain crazy thing happens, I don't know, Kawhi Leonard's available or something like that, there could be some snafus, but I think he has every intention to fulfill that and come through and get Jeffrey in the Raptors jersey next year. But he is a loose, unaffiliated player at this moment. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to honor him today, because just in case he's not coming back for some strange reason, I did want to get a Share the Love Club for Jeffrey, no matter what, for this season that he's already done this year. So I want to make sure we got him. Shere Khan's here. Good to see Shere Khan. Raptor Freak Rookie of the Year for this past season, coming in strong with the positivity and the great comments. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. Love the attitude Dowtin brings to the table. There will be a demand for him in the league, so may have to make a quick move. 1.5 to 2 million should do the trick. Still pissed we didn't sign him early. Yeah, I hope nobody comes in and tries to overbid us and steals him from us. I don't know. In some ways, I hope that Jeff has some loyalty towards us, because he should in some ways. I think he was very, very happy this season. If you talk to Jeffrey, he'd probably tell you he very much enjoyed his time with the Raptors organization this season. Even if it seemed kind of jerky at the end with not getting converted, I'll bet you he was smiling. He was very happy with the progress and the gains that he made this past season as a professional, and that he knows that it's coming. Well, I'm talking about it right here. We know that it's going to come. That millions of dollars that you were talking about, Shir Khan, will be in a contract for him for next season, hopefully. And that is what we all want. Raptors fans want it. Hopefully, Masai really wants it. And we know Jeff wants it too. Because in some ways, he feels like maybe he feels like he has value and he fits on our team. He may be more likely to give us favor over other suitors in the free agency market just because he knows what the situation is here from the last season. And that could be he could go to another team and sign with them, and they may not respect or like him as much as we do right now. And he may not get exactly what he may get from us. So who knows? I just want to make sure we get him. This is a priority this summer. Obviously, Jakob, Fred, the coach, obviously are very much high priorities, but so is Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. He is a priority for this summer. Make sure it happens, Bobby and Masai. MSJ saying, "Hey, all cool topic." And yeah, Dowtin could be a bench guard and he knows the schemes, etc. Yeah, he's already got reps with us. He's already bonding with our players and they're getting to know him. He definitely has a respect of the guys on our team. And, they like him. They like how hard he works. They like that he's like a real pro and the other thing about Jeff is he's a real student of the game. He really loves basketball and he's a basketball nerd. He studies basketball like crazy. He studies stats. He studies the history. He studies tendencies. He really gets into the nuts and bolts. And once again, just like Fred and Jakob and some of our other players, he's a high IQ basketball player. And that's something that we should value and want to keep around. If anything, Jeffrey is another great basketball IQ to have around on your team. So there's a lot to like about him. He is a true student of the game. He literally watches a lot of basketball all the time, and he's consistently thinking about basketball theory and how the game is changing and how he can do things with his game in relation to that. This is what Jeffrey Dowtin is. He is a hoop head. He is a gym rat. He is a real one that really, really loves the sport of basketball, really loves it. There's been statements made by past pros recently saying that half the NBA doesn't even love basketball anymore. They're just talented dudes that want to show up and make millions and be famous, but they really don't love and appreciate and have that relationship with the sport like some of the old pros used to. Well, Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. is not one of those guys just showing up to get checks because he's not getting checks. He has a real passion and a love and a drive to be a great basketball player because he loves the sport and he eats, lives, and breathes the sport. So yeah, I love it. I love it. Jeffrey is great. He's familiar with our system, and he already has time accrued. And like Chris said, he is somebody he's becoming better friends with now. This is what we want. We want these guys to be bonded, feel connected, and go to war with the other teams as a team together against them. And that's what we're looking at. Oh yeah, Mike's saying if Dowtin can lock down that three ball, he's got years in the league ahead of him. With better shooting, Dowtin can be a glue offense runner. Yeah. There's a lot of good skills he already has that a lot of young players don't have coming in the league. He's fundamentally sound. That's the thing I love the most about him is I can tell when guys are fundamentally sound and when they're not. And having a younger player, well, he's not totally younger, but having young players that are more fundamentally sound may be more smart as the NBA gets more and more into this weird place where people just don't have fundamentals anymore as young players. That they don't go to college for 4 years and learn fundamentals from their college coach. They just come in and they don't really have fundamentals. And that's why the reasons I really prize Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. is he is a fundamentally good player. And we need more of them on our team. We have a lot of them on our team, but we need more of them. That's why you win. That's for sure. Let's see. Monique is here. Good morning, everyone. Jeff will indeed get minutes next season and surprise us all. I love it, Monique. I love that prediction. And I think you're right. I think that he's going to be rewarded with the contract this summer. He's going to have a big smile. We're going to come into training camp and he's going to know more. Hopefully, we'll have a coach that has roles for our players and they all understand kind of what their role will be this season. And they can gravitate towards those roles from the very beginning of the season instead of trying to go on a fact finding mission during the season to figure out what people's roles should be. I want a coach that knows what they want from these players ahead of time and says, this is what you're doing this season, because last season it was too open-ended, too ambiguous, and too unorganized. And if there's anything we need more this season is more organization. And that means giving these guys very specific roles that they know they got to fulfill so they can be successful and then successful as a whole as a team. And that is what I'm looking forward to. Fiercely Salsera here in the morning. Good to see Fiercey. Scotty Barnes, Twitch family. We may not see him on Twitch ever again, but we'll always be Scotty Barnes Twitch family. That's for sure. Good morning, fam. I wonder if Nick Nurse and the Raptors organization paid attention to the fans like Hugh. How much does our opinions weigh on their decisions? I wonder about this too. In some ways it does matter. It's like weird. Because you got to think about this, Fiercey. We're the engine of money that goes into the machine. And in some ways, you don't want to upset the engine that is making you profitable and paying money to see the games, buy the merchandise, be involved. In some ways, if your fans are too turned off from your team, it can suffer financially. There's times when the Knicks have been so bad that their team has not made as much money because nobody cared. They were like, fuck the Knicks. I hate them. They're a disgrace. They're like an eyesore. Why don't they just go away? So in some ways, yeah, it does matter popular opinions and things about your team, because if you're totally like going against what the fans want constantly, like a James Dolan might have been doing for a little while there, you could lose fans, you can lose revenue, and you can lose, people's interest in your team just from turning them off by doing boneheaded decisions. It's like, oh, they're not going to sign Jeff Dowtin. Well, they're idiots. I don't want to watch anymore. That could be a factor. The pressure to fire Nick Nurse and Budenholzer both was factored in from fan voices, people talking online. And in some ways, that's why I try to quiet more noise to go after other heads. Like the people that are talking about wanting to get rid of the front office right now, you're idiots. The people that are talking about trying to get Fred off this team, you're idiots. Because this is the thing. They may listen to you, and I don't want them to listen to you. Of course, they're not going to listen to you about firing themselves. But the stuff about Fred, that's what I'm saying. And in some ways, we're the final push. They may be kind of thinking about, well, do we need to fire Nick because of this shit? I don't know. Let's see what the fans do. Okay, the fans are kind of saying, yeah, we should fire him. And then boom, he's fired. There was a huge, huge voice in the fan nation of the Bucks to fire Budenholzer, even with that tragedy. The fans are saying, oh, this is, some people are saying, oh, this is wrong of the Bucks to fire him after his brother died in the series. It's really sad. But a lot of the fans were the reason in the calling out for it. Fire Bud, fire Bud. In some ways, the blood is on their hands. So I think that this is true. I think that they do come listen to us and that our opinions do matter. But they take them with what public sentiment is. It's maybe not that we're not going to make the deals. We're going to do the deals ourselves. But let's see what the fans think. There may be a little bit of that. And maybe my channel helps them get some of the opinions in an unfiltered way from the fans that really care. Because there's a lot of troll, idiot, like not real fans out there with voices too. So they may want to hear it from the real ones, the Raptor freaks, like y'all. That's what I'm thinking. All right, Isaac saying didn't even play in the playoffs, yet he is one of a very select, safe players. We roll with Jeff. Yeah, I think he is. They've added OGs. And there's some article I saw this morning saying that Masai is taking OG off the table for trading also. That Scotty, OG, and possibly Jeffrey are people that are for sure going to be going forward with us. Jaka Pirtle, another one. So hopefully we kind of get an idea of some of the main players that are going to be back for sure. From what some nods and things that I've heard, like there is an article out that's saying that OG's off the table at this point, that Masai values him too much and that he doesn't want to try and deal him this summer. So I like that. I like hearing that. Mike's saying Dowtin is currently in restricted free agent with Masai holding the power at the moment. Masai said he'll bring him back. So there's very little that can derail that. This is good to hear. See, Mike knows the inner details of the contracts a little bit better than me, and I appreciate his presence here to fill in these blanks. So he's saying he's a restricted free agent. So whatever anybody tries to give him, we can match it and keep him here for sure. So that is good to know. Thank you, Mike, for clarifying his free agency as a restricted free agent. Fiercely saying, I sincerely wish he gets a chance next season. He's definitely an asset to keep. I also like his responses at post game interviews, very smart, and he gets well with the team and our culture. He's just a nice young guy. He's really smart. He's humble. That's another thing. He has had a hard road to get to where he's gotten to right now. He's definitely worked his ass off to get to possible NBA contract, which he'll probably get in this summer, which I'm so happy and proud of for him. And needs to get this from us. So we have him on our team because Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. is a fantastic guard. And I'm so happy he came to our team last year. I remember watching him the year before in the G League games when he was on Lakeland Magic, and he killed us. He was so annoying. I was like, that Down guy is really good on the other side. Well, turn around, Summer League. He's on our Summer League roster all of a sudden, and I was very pleasantly surprised by that. So he was a player I'd already known about a little bit just from seeing him on Lakeland Magic against the 905 the year before. So I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's going to be back for us. Hopefully that'll happen for sure. G's here. Good to see G, original Raptor Freak trivia champion from the first year of the Raptor Freak channel. He won the championship in our trivia the first year. G. The players seem to really like Jeff too. Other news: apparently Jakob is a lock to be a Raptor, and at first they were saying Raptors may not retain Gary, but now speculation he may just opt in. There has been a couple of articles about Gary Trent Jr. in the last couple of days. Competing executives are speculating that Gary Trent Jr. will not be on the Raptors next season. That was the whole headline. And to me, it was sounded kind of stupid. I mean, whatever happens with Gary will happen with Gary. If we have him back, I'll be so overjoyed and happy. But if we don't, I trust him aside that it wasn't the right move for the right money to keep him back. And that we're going to go in another direction that'll hopefully fill in some of the skills that he gives us that are very essential and very necessary that we need more of. So if we don't keep Gary Trent Jr. this summer, we definitely need somebody to come and replace some of the things that he does for us. And that means a very, very good bench player that's a guard forward that can shoot and make his own shot. So I hope that Gary comes back. I mean, there's no real signs for sure. I try to pay attention to Gary Sr. to get any tells from this, but in some ways he's not a good way of reading this. So I don't know. Gary Jr. is very much on radio silence so far this summer in social media. We're not hearing anything from him for the most part. He's very much taking his time off. Speaking of social media, let's go take a check on Instagram with the Raptors. There's a really cool clip that came out yesterday by Open Gym that Fred VanVleet is putting on blast. So is Christian Coloco. So is Chris Boucher. It's like a 4-minute clip or 3-minute clip of the Raptors season kind of in a nutshell with dramatic music, really shot well, and like all these really cool scenes of them, like the fire blowing up behind Siakam. It's really cool to the guys that celebrating the cinematics of Open Gym in their last season. In some ways, it's not been a very good season, but they're still showing the drama and the drive and the connectivity of posting this clip on their social medias. Fred, Pascal, Coloco, Chris Boucher, all these guys posting this on Instagram last night. Really cool. And then Siakam is out on a boat somewhere. I'm not even sure where that is, but he's with his friend Mark, and he's on a boat. And then we see, okay, he's in Miami, I guess, is what it's saying here. He's a special guest in Miami. So Siakam is down in Florida, in Miami right now. I've seen Delano in Miami recently. And then, of course, Scotty yesterday posted a story from Florida State University. My friend Scotty Barnes at our old alma mater, Florida State in Tallahassee. Scotty visiting Tallahassee yesterday at FSU campus with some of the college dudes, hanging out, doing college things, bro. I know exactly where they were because I know the geography of Florida State and Tallahassee really well. They're over there near Gaines Street, over near the stadium was where Scotty was with his buddies in one of those new condo buildings that they just built in the last 5 to 10 years. So yeah, Scotty's in Tallahassee at Florida State yesterday. So kind of cool to see Scott go back and check out his old college and seeing what's going on in the old T-town, Tally Town. Oh yeah, I know Tallytown, baby. Yeah, I know about that part of town, the country. That's for sure. Let's see who else is on there. Let's see. Siakam has got hats and shirts and stuff in Miami, and then we got Precious celebrating a young man who got an award with a guy who looks like Brett Favre. And then Precious is cruising around in a New York Yankees hat, listening to music also in the car yesterday. Slim Duck is all over Instagram with his stories, all kinds of funny stuff. He's posting funny quotes. He's posting knockouts in UFC. There's a really cool blanket or a rug or something of the three Montreal players in the NBA, but Mathurin, Lou Dort, and Chris Boucher on the rug. It looks so fantastic. I love this rug. It's got these three Montreal guys on it, and it just looks really cool. I like that Chris said this. This is something Chris said on his Instagram stories. My DMs are always open in case you want to talk to yourself. Respectively. So if you send him a message, he's not going to read it, is what he's telling you right there. And then there's another one here. It says, Chris says, I'm pretty decent with holding my tongue, but these facial expressions. See, he's going to try not to say anything, but he can't hide the expression on his face if you're saying some dumbass shit, is basically what's going on. And he really liked that clip that I was talking about just a second ago, the open gym end up clip. He said, damn, that shit's tough. Yeah, they did a good job. Open gym always does do a good job. But yeah, all kinds of cool posts by Chris, obviously on Instagram. He's usually more active on Instagram in some ways than the other Raptors. But yeah, really, really good to see them posting stuff on Instagram, and you kind of see where guys are. There's quite a few of the Raptors around Florida right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. Guys, go down there and enjoy yourselves, and just be safe and have a good time. And I know y'all will get the workouts in when you can get those workouts in. Fred was also posting the end of the year clip. And yeah, there's Scotty at Florida State. I love seeing Scotty back in Tallahassee. Very, very cool stuff. So there's your Instagram check with the Raptors going on their social media. Yeah, bam. All right, let's see. Let's see. MSJ saying, I really think Jeff Dowtin will be back. Question is, will Flynn be back? I know some like Flynn, but I have to say that I really hope he is off the team. We should draft a guard to replace him. I'm okay with this. I'm with you on this, MSJ. I've had very little patience for Flynn in the last couple of years. As far as like, listen, we've been around, we've really tried all these kind of ways. In some ways, I started to get this feeling about Malachi Flynn that he's a great college player. He's a great pro-am player. He's great at all kinds of different levels. But in the NBA, his game just doesn't translate. In some ways, he's a point guard size shooting guard that is really like hot and cold and so streaky that in some ways he's just not dependable or reliable enough. Now, if he was a better assist maker, if he could pass the ball and get more guys involved easier, I'd find more value in him. I like the defense. I like the doggedness. I like the up and down the court. There's some skills that are very valuable, but overall, he doesn't have enough of a package to get him like really good minutes. So I don't know. I'm with you on this. If Flynn's not back this summer, I won't be upset. If we don't get, something from him or whatever, so be it. In some ways, we want an open roster spot to fill it with somebody who may be more capable in helping us. I'd like to get another center and put it in that spot. If we got a third center and put it in that spot instead, that would be good. Because in some ways, we have guards. We have the guys that we need for that. We need a center. We need, a third center is what I'm saying. We need more shooters in some ways. And Malachi is a shooter, but he's not dependable enough. And how many years is going to take for this experiment with him? If this next coach comes in and we still have him and we're still seeing the same kind of stuff from Malachi, we'll know it wasn't Nick Nurse holding him back. It's just that Malachi just isn't the guy. It's just how it is. G saying, even in some glimpses of videos and interviews, you can see how committed he was. Like you said, he's a student of the game. I think he enjoys it here too. Yeah, I think he really liked flipping from both teams. And the great thing was at some points in the middle of the season, Jeffrey was being utilized on both teams. He was getting big club minutes while he was still getting the regular, a lot of minutes on the 905. And you can talk to the people on 905, how essential and integral he was to any kind of success that we had at that level this year. Eric Curry will tell you just how important Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. was to the team. And you're right. Like there's always something about him. Like he's always tuned in. All right, there's a couple interviews he did. He did one with Ahmed Mann. He did another one earlier on. I think I forget with Samson Folk or somebody. And they really got to know him, Orrin Weisfeld. And he really is like a nerd about basketball. Like he really loves basketball and he's always reading up on it. He doesn't get sick of it. And he's probably one of these weird people that sits on a day off and he's just hanging out in his room or his place and he's just like contemplating ideas about basketball and what he could do on the court, like overthinking in his head all the time. So I like that. I like that about him. And that shows that like he's definitely not one of these guys that doesn't have a passion for the sport that some people are saying. One of these guys that I think may not have a passion for the sport was outed once again, and it looked like a rerun from last season. DeAndre Ayton. Holy crap, what happened last night? Monty Williams still not happy with him. They let these guys stay together for the whole entire season just to get all the way around to this point in the playoffs. Now, I know the Phoenix Suns won their game last night, but there's some really ugly things on the horizon for them. Last night, they played Jock Landale at the end of the game instead of DeAndre Ayton. He was visibly upset. In fact, he wouldn't dap Chris Paul on the way out. And when he left the game, way before the interviews afterwards, he didn't talk to anyone when he left the arena. I know that chasm between Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton has been there the whole season, and they've just managed around it regardless. Well, it's showing its ugly head again, and it looks like Ayton's being a crybaby. And a lot of people are starting to think that DeAndre Ayton does not have a passion for basketball like the average NBA player should. That he isn't bought in like a Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. and a student of the game. In some ways, he's just showing up to get the paycheck. So there's dysfunction with the Phoenix Suns in a major way, even though they won a game against the Nuggets last night and they're down 1-2 against the Nuggets. Still, the Ayton problem is still there. And the thing about him not dapping Chris Paul shows that he has a problem with Chris Paul also. So there's some real serious problems in Phoenix, and DeAndre Ayton needs to leave that team. We don't need him up here anymore because we got Pirtle. And oh my gosh, I'm so much happier with Pirtle than DeAndre Ayton. Trust me. So yeah, Phoenix, your expiration date in the playoffs is coming up quick if you're going to have issues with your starting center like this. Really, really bad, really bad. And then I'm seeing on Facebook, there's a thing on NBA Bits, NBA trade rumors. Clippers star Kawhi Leonard has stopped communicating with his teammates and coaches per NBA Insider. So it sounded like Kawhi is at the point where he was with San Antonio near the end with the Clippers at this point. And we know what happened last time. He had to leave and go to another team. So Kawhi is not talking to his teammates or his coaches at this point in the offseason. Maybe it's because he's on vacation and he doesn't need to. But some people are reading it into it as he needs to leave the Clippers at this point. Some very, very crazy, interesting stuff happening with big names around this league. People are saying the Utah Jazz are watching what's happening with Luka Doncic in Dallas. The New York Knicks are watching what happens with Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. That there are weird things in flux. And that Masai Ujiri talking about, well, we don't know what will happen this offseason with weird like player movement, big names being unhappy or unsettled in places. Things can happen and get shook up real quick. And Masai and Bobby could be opportunists in this kind of situation with these kind of big names going around. Who knows? It could be Kawhi part 2. You know, we know that he loves being with Dr. Alex, and if anybody can keep him healthy for a season, it's the Toronto Raptors. So who knows? I'm hearing that Kawhi's not happy in Clipperland, and he may be on the move again this summer. Well. Opportunity knocks is what it sounds like to me. Yeah. All right, let's see. MSJ saying at Fiercey Salsera, good point. And I will say that informed fans such as here see the same thing as the front office and come to say opinions we have here, not popular opinions, but informed ones. Well, this could be this. Like, listen, you have two intelligent people in two separate rooms. They have the same problem in front of them. Well, maybe they come to the same conclusions because they use a similar intelligence that's smart. In some ways, I may be just dumb luck predicting, but it's partly because I may think the same way as Bobby and Masai in some ways. And it's just that we're coming to the same conclusions. You know, it's like me not watching Chev is because I don't want to rip him off. but we may say some of the similar same things, and we come to them and separately apart at the same time. So there may be some of this phenomenon going on as far as we figure things out as they figure them out also, and that's why we're right a lot on this channel. But also, it could also be, that we're smart people, they're smart people, and smart people come to the same conclusions. So I like that, MSJ, and I think this is true. I think with the interconnectedness of social media, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, that the fans can have more say and have more connectedness to the front office and the players than ever. And I think that's very true. And I think that a smart front office will utilize smart fan speak and smart fan spaces to get a little bit like the Thursday think tank and hearing what people are saying, like we do on Thursdays or here or whatever day. So I think there's some truth to that. Shane Waters is here. Good to see Shane, West Coast Raptor Freak, holding it down in BC. Good to see you, Shane. I hope you're having a great weekend so far. Happy Saturday, friends. I'll share the love for Jeff's floor general skills and his excellent chase defense. Today we are sharing love, so now I'll stop talking about the rest of Jeff's game. Woo! All right, so he's being nice. He sees limits to him, but he likes his general floor skills, his floor general skills, I mean. Like as far as running the team, he's really big on that. And he really likes his excellent chase defense. I don't know what he's going to allude to as far as negative sides to him. In some ways, he's a safe player to have out there. As Nick Nurse characterized Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. near the end of the season, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's not out there making like bad decisions. And he feels very comfortable playing him with starters or whoever on the court against high level opponents. So in some ways, he's got trust. He had trust from Nick Nurse already in some ways. So, all right, Shane, good to see you. And I'm glad you're staying on the positive side. G saying Tristan 416 put that great Raptors video together. That was an open gym. That was a fan that put that together. Wow. Congratulations, Tris 416. Good job. All the Raptors are reposting your video now. And that's got to feel good to have like the dudes that you put the video in to honor are all putting it on blast now. So you go. If that's a fan that put that together, that is incredible. Good job. I just figured because the production value, the music, the way it was done, that would be open gym. Now, is Tris 416 in the open gym crew? That may be part of it. I don't know. Tom Duke is here. Good morning. He's got these look like pawns, and then he's got like a queen, and then he's got a horse, and he's got a crown. He's got another horse, and he's got a Statue of Liberty, and then he's got Marpons, and he's got Spicy, and he's got question marks. And it's saying how many players on Masai's chess team, I mean on NBA rosters this upcoming season? 17. Well, you know what, Tom? Actually, we get 18. Like Mike is saying, 18 players on the roster next season with 3 two-ways now. They're adding an extra two-way spot for next season. So NBA rosters can have 18 players. We had 17 last season. So instead of having to cut the extra guy in training camp, we can actually keep the extra guy this year because it's 18 now. And I think that's cool. And having 3 two-ways means that we're going to have 3 different guys bouncing back and forth between the G League and the Raptors. And hopefully they'll be utilized better by the new head coaching regime coming to Toronto this summer. That's one thing that I'm going to pay attention to is when guys go to the 905 and come back to the regular team. Is it controlled by the coach? And will I see better management of this season because the coach is understanding this better and using it in a better, more logical way than Nick did last year? He really didn't utilize the 905 correctly and bouncing guys back and forth. It really didn't make any sense, some of the decisions he was making. So hopefully we'll see a new coach make better decisions with sending guys back and forth. Now, does this third open spot like this, does this mean Jeff's going to just be another two-way next year? I don't think so. I don't think he's eligible to. I think that at a certain age or at a certain point in your career, he's 3 years in, you can't be signed to a two-way anymore. So it's now or never. He can't be on a two-way again. He needs to get a full contract this summer, Masai. And I think you know that, and you will do that. So that's awesome. All right, let's see. Thompson, I thought it got bigger. Cheers, Mike. Yeah, it's 18. There will now be 18 spots on our roster for next season, Tom. Trevor's here. Good to see Trevor J. Good morning, bro. You make sports so exciting when you talk about it. You have a great insight. You're the best. So what you do? Thank you, Trevor. Holy crap. That's very overwhelming compliment. I appreciate it. I just try to have enthusiasm. I am excited about the Raptors. In some ways, like since we went out so disappointing, I was sad about it and upset. But in some ways, I'm like the clean slate of going forward and trying to build from this point where we're at is actually exciting because in some ways we're further along and our team is in a good place. And it's just going to be kind of cool to see the next couple of moves that Masai and Bobby make to really create what our identity and how we're going to be for next season. In some ways, that's the most exciting because it's potential, it's promise, and we'll see. It's kind of sucks and sad when you see potential wasted or we have a bad season like last year, then you get down on it. But when you can get through that and say, look, we get a whole new year, a new record, a new chance to start it off right and do things correctly, hopefully win close games that we lost last year, and boom, it's a whole different thing. That's why I get enthusiastic and really excited about it. I really appreciate your very, very high compliment. I really, really do, Trevor. You're awesome. And one of my favorite people on this channel lately. You've just been so fantastic with your comments. Mike saying, salute, Tom Duke. Yeah, Doughton isn't a G League eligible anymore. Okay, that's what I figured. So Mike is confirming that I thought that Jeff Dowtin is not eligible to be a G Leaguer next year. He spent his years, I believe, so it's an NBA or straight G League. Two ways aren't available to him anymore based on 4 years being the max. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he's had so many two ways. He doesn't want any more two ways. He wants just a one way. And that's a one way on the Toronto Raptors main roster as a full time Toronto Raptor. That's what we want. This dude is ready. We want him on our team. Monique is saying, DeMar on Stephen A's show. Did anybody else catch that? I watched that little clip that you posted on Instagram, Monique. I don't agree with them. In some ways, they're kind of silly with what they're saying. You know, they're discounting what Kawhi did. Kawhi is a very special certain player. And I don't think that this is true, what Steven's trying to say. You know, they think that because, Casey, maybe that may be true. Maybe like switching Nurse to Casey didn't matter. But I think switching Kawhi from DeMar was important for us to win the championship. And them saying that, oh, I think that Casey and DeMar would have won the championship with Toronto anyway once LeBron left. That's hard to say because in some ways that clutch factor that Kawhi had against Philadelphia was very integral for us to advance in that game 7 on that 4 bounce shot. And I don't know how that would have gone with that series with Philly with DeMar instead of Kawhi. So I can't get behind this, guys. As much I love you, DeMar, and I'm kind of about Stephen A. Smith. I appreciate that you're saying this and you're trying to give him kudos, but I don't know if this is true. I have to, as a Raptor freak, I have to say, I cannot believe this and what you guys are saying. But if you guys want to believe that, all right, I'll get behind you on it because in some ways I want DeMar to have that kind of feeling, but I don't think it's true. I don't think it's true. MSJ saying you explained Flynn's game well. There isn't enough there, and we need to draft shooting, not a center, don't you think? Although third center would be nice, we could bring Eubanks back for that. You're right. We much rather draft shooting, and I'm not talking about drafting a center. I'm more talking about like just using his roster spot to maybe get a backup veteran center. Like it doesn't even need to be a young person. It could be like a Dwayne Dedman or somebody that's just kind of like a big dude who's just in case. You'll have Porto starting. You'll have Koloko as your young project who's coming in and out of the 905 and the Raptors and used in different ways. But then you have like a backup center just in case. I'm not totally happy. It could even be Kem Birch. Kem Birch is the right kind of level for that third center. So it doesn't have to be anybody super flashy or super great. Even if we brought Kem Birch back for next season, not that that'll probably happen. But, I'm just saying it could be a player like that. I'm not thinking like a big, huge, like top level center. I'm talking about a third tier center that really is very much like just an extra big guy just in case. So, yeah. And Eubanks could work. Eubanks, we dropped him when we made that deal and he went to Portland and he played pretty good out there for the rest of the season. But I don't know if he's specifically the one. It could be like a Plumlee or something like that. We got like a Plumlee or something. Or what's the other family that has a bunch of sons that are all running around being goons in the league? Plumlee's one of them. There's another family, the Zellers. You can get one of the Zellers or one of the Plumlees or something. I don't know. Let's see. Fiercely saying, where can we get a list of all the unrestricted free agents and restricted free agents? it would be nice to dream a little and see who could come on over in the off season. The star eyes. I'm not sure. I'm sure you could find this maybe on ESPN somewhere or some sports site. I haven't really looked for that kind of stuff yet. I'm not in that headspace yet. I'm still in a weird kind of like, I think until we get this coaching search done, I'm not going to want to look at unrestricted free agents too much. I want to get the coach in first, and then we'll go from there. I might switch my brain from coach search to draft, from draft to free agency. It's kind of like how it'll go with me on this channel. So I think coach search should be paramount and forefront. Coaches search. And then maybe around the draft, I'll get way more into the draft people and looking at the prospects. Monique has been posting stuff stuff about the new players coming up. And I appreciate that, Monique. I'll definitely check out the stuff you've been posting. But yeah, I'm really dumb on the draft prospects right now and who's actually a free agent coming up this summer. But I know there's a lot of huge names out there that are going to be free agents. So it's going to be very interesting to see all the movement this summer. The NBA is just very movement oriented in the offseason now. There's all kinds of crazy flurry of going every which way. And in some ways, that's part of the thing that people criticize the NBA about, is that one of the reasons why the old NBA was so good is because you kind of had your troops that were the same troops year after year. The Celtics were the Celtics. The Lakers were the Lakers. The Bulls were the Bulls. The Pistons were the Pistons. And you wouldn't have such high turnover, and especially turnover with such high level superstars, like top players on teams. That very much Larry Bird was the Celtics. Magic was the Lakers. And that's part of the problem with the NBA now is guys are too quick to switch teams. And it's hard for teams to get their identities with their superstars when there's so much movement going from team to team. And that in some ways, the old NBA was better when there was a core that stuck together. And the Warriors are an epitome of that. In some ways, the Warriors are the core that sticks together old school wise, like the 80s and 90s. And that's why maybe they're a dynasty and they've had success. But how many other teams around the NBA in the last 10 years have been able to keep their cores together? We see our championship core has dismantled in 5 years since. And that's what I'm saying. The whole identity of old NBA teams was actually in a core of like 5 or 6 guys that stuck together for like 8 years. And we're not doing that anymore in the NBA. It's like shuffle up and play. We're going to get all the cards back and we'll shuffle them and then we'll deal them back out every summer. And there'll be different people in different places every year. And it's hard to establish that consistent team culture, consistency core that you did in the 80s and 90s with teams with like Michael, Scotty, Horace, Bill Cartwright, Will Perdue, Steve Kerr, John Paxson. These dudes were all together for a long period of time, and that's why they got so good. And we just don't have that anymore in the NBA. And that may be part of the problem. It's good for player freedoms and be able to move, but it may not be good for the quality of the play and the teams play in the league, in the competition, because it's so much turnover. But it'll be very interesting to see the movement this year. As always, it's always interesting. Last summer, it was a couple of big moves like Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and we saw the things that happened from that. Very, very interesting. Let's see. Mike's saying, well said, Lex, on people sounding the same. It's a lot of the time just inform people coming to the right conclusions in similar ways. Yeah. I would hope that that's how, in some ways we'd like people to just have common sense. And if people can have common sense in separate places and not talk to each other, they can come to the same conclusions. And I think that's a lot of it. Wayne's here. Good to see Wayne Strainer, one of our rookies, all-rookie team for this year. Wayne Strainer. Jeff is on solid ground with us. Yeah, I agree with that. Malachi has been given limited opportunities and maybe he's gone. However, if provided one more opportunity, I'm good with that. Well, it's up to us. I know that Masai really does like Malachi. He's definitely been a pet project and somebody he really wants to see succeed with us. And some ways it's partly maybe Masai's pride. It's like, look, I drafted this guy. I want to make sure this guy looks good because I drafted him. And maybe he's holding on and trying too hard. In some ways, like I would think that some of the things that Malachi's done in his, 3 years now he's been on our team, some guys might have gotten cut before this in other places, in other situations similar to his. But for some reason, Masai has protected him and kept him going on our roster. And we'll have to see if he continues that this summer or he moves him or he's just gone for some reason. It's just like, you know what? I'm sorry. This is it. We can't go any further with you. And that's just it. G saying Tris 416 is the photographer of the Raptors. He's extremely creative and good at his job. Is he that black guy with that head, that flat top on his head? I think I know who you're talking about. He's always all around the court, and I've seen him at all kinds of events. He was at the coach's open house, taking a ton of pictures at that. Also, I think I know who you're talking about. I think that's exactly who you're talking about. Tris 416. He has a flat top. He's a black guy. He's a little bit heavy set. He's a big dude. Fiercely saying, I feel confident when Jeff is on the floor, not as much when it's Malachi or Delano. I believe Jeff is ready to join the crew. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Delano's okay in some ways. He's just a little crazy and wild because he's such a long player and he has such a quickness that you feel like he's out of control. But in some ways, he's actually in control. But I get what you're feeling. Like, I get more worried about turnovers with him around. And then with Malachi, I just wish that he was more of a passer. In some ways, if he could get more into assists and setting guys up with really good passes, he'd have way more value on our team. But because he doesn't do that enough, he's not really a point guard. It doesn't work. You can't be a 6'3" shooting guard in this league anymore when there's 6'7" shooting guards and 6'9" shooting guards. You got to be a certain height in certain places around the NBA at this point. It's just how the game evolves: bigger, stronger, faster. And that's why, if you're short at your position, you're at a detriment all kinds of different ways. And being 6'3" at the two is not an advantage. Is not an advantage. It's not at all. Country Kong's here. Good to see Country Kong. It's been a bit. Always good to see you. Good morning, Raptor Freaks. I, for one, believe in Malachi's skills and abilities. To me, he's a talented young point guard who fell victim to the nursery. I love it. I hope our new coach gives young guys a chance. Excuse me. Boy, that one really caught me there. Excuse me. Oh, ew. I totally agree with this. I mean, are you Eric Flynn? If you were, I wouldn't be upset with you. And I'd be honored that Eric Flynn joins us in the chat. But no, I agree with you. The fact that you called him Nick Nursery is hilarious. That could be a very stark difference. If we do have Malachi next season, a new coach, and we see new results from Malachi, we'll be like, well, damn, Nick was doing that to him. And Eric Flynn was right, treating him like a dog. He treats him worse than a dog. That's what he said, Eric Flynn. One time he said, Nick Nurse treats them worse than a dog. How will you treat my son worse than a dog? How are you treating your dogs, Eric Flynn? That's what I would be asking. Logical Raptors fanatic saying Kawhi's defense was the key to the Bucks series. We failed to the Bucks with DeRozan. That's another thing. Forget about that last second shot Kawhi made, which is really like epitome of his signature kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that DeMar can't hit a big last second shot like that, but maybe what Mike is saying here would have been even more of a reason why we couldn't have done it with DeMar is the defense on Giannis after the 2 games down to Milwaukee. We went and shut him down. And Kawhi very specifically said, I'm taking Giannis now. And he made a big, big defensive effort to stop Giannis and help us win 4 in a row after losing 2 in a row to Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals that year. So, yeah, I think that that's a good point right there, that we needed him for the defense on Giannis. Fiercely saying, respectfully, Debo, Casey may have stayed, but Kawhi did amazing defense. Is that the dagger? Laugh out loud. Also, we got Danny Green. That's another part of it. Now, would that have worked with Pirtle instead of Green? I don't know. Maybe not, because then what would we have done with Gasol and all that kind of stuff? There's too much woulda, coulda, shoulda in this, Stephen A. Smith. Why do you even bring this up? This is almost 5 years ago at this point. But it is kind of interesting to hear DeMar's own words about it. He believes he could have done it. And I you know what? If he believes it, I want to get behind DeMar because he's my guy. I love him. But yeah, there's too many woulda, coulda, shoulda, and too many moving parts in that whole scenario to say exactly, okay, if Casey and DeMar had still been on the Raptors team, they would have won the championship that year. I'm a diehard Raptors fan, and I don't believe that. So it's crazy that Stephen A. Smith believes that. Trevor's saying Philadelphia is done. Joel is too slow to play against Boston. He slows down the game so they will not win. Interesting game last night. Have you ever seen somebody step on someone's head like that before? I know he was falling backwards and you didn't know he was there, but the picture of Joel Embiid with 1 foot on Grant Williams' face on the floor like that is crazy looking. And then you see a bruise on his face. He literally put all his weight on one foot on his head, stomped on his head. It could have been really bad. Like if he had really hurt him, he could have busted his head open or something like that. It's insane what happened in that moment. Joel is such a dangerous player on this court. But it's funny, the exchange afterwards, he's like, "You okay?" And he's like, "Don't worry, man. It's the playoffs, bro. You got to go after the ball. You got to just do what you got to do. Just keep playing." That's what Grant said to him. And Joel's like feeling actually really bad about stepping on his head. This is crazy. Yeah, the Celtics whooping up on the Sixers. That's what I'm saying. There's some problems here for the Sixers in some ways. You know what it is? Also, listen. Oh my gosh, James Harden, what the fuck are you doing, bro? What the fuck are you doing, James Harden? Why did you go to Vegas in between these games? It looks really bad. Like the article before is like Doc saying, James called me. He said, "I'm going to go to Vegas between the games. Do you want me to?" And he's like, Dennis Rodman did that a long time ago for the Bulls. Sure, James, no problem. Okay, go to Vegas, James, and come back and shoot fucking 2 for fucking 30 or something like that. Seriously, that's what's going down with this. He let him go to Vegas. They're playing Philadelphia and Boston series. It's East Coast time. Why the fuck does he need to go get in another time zone for a little bit? Go to fucking Atlanta and go to the strip club there, or go to fucking Atlantic City if you really want to gamble. Why the fuck y'all go all the way to fuck to Nevada? And in some ways, I'm like blaming James Harden for his horrible play in the last 2 games because he's not serious enough. Because he's going to go to Vegas. Okay, Doc Rivers is okay with it. Well, you can't fucking stop him anyway, Doc. James Harden's going to go to Vegas if he wants to go to Vegas. So you're just like, sure, go to Vegas. That's what Dennis did. Well, he comes back and he shoots a horrible percentage and you lose to the Celtics. You had Houston Harden for game 1. And in the last 2 games, you ain't getting jack shit from him. 20 points in 2 games for James Harden after getting over 40 points in the first game. Yeah, Doc, I wouldn't be letting that man go in other time zones. Tell him to stay in the Eastern time zone, and that'll be fine. And then you'll be happy with that. But yeah, James Harden showing a little bit of knuckleheadedness still, even though I'm like, I respect this dude for showing up and being a better player. Well, no, now this has gone out the window, and he is a part of the reason why they lost last night. Seriously, look at his stat line from last night. James Harden was 3 for 14 from the field with 16 points. He got 8 of those points at the free throw line. He did have 11 assists and 6 rebounds, but he was a minus 12 and he missed 11 shots. That's what I'm saying. You can't be messing around going to Vegas like that. You're not Dennis Rodman, bro. Dennis Rodman's a weird one in some ways. But yeah, very interesting stuff happening in that series. Boston up 2-1 now. Speaking of the playoffs, let's go ahead and do the ref report for tonight. It's New York at Miami, game 3 in Miami. Mark Davis is the crew chief. Josh Tiven and Brian Forte are the refs. Are you noticing that I'm reading the same fucking refs every day for these playoff games? They're only using like certain ones over and over again. It's crazy. Now, all 3 refs for the game today favor the Miami Heat at home. So expect the Miami Heat to be up 2-1 over the New York Knicks after the game today. Golden State is in LA for the 3rd game of their series, the first one in crypto for the Lakers. David Guthrie is the crew chief. Bill Kennedy and Mitchell Irvin are the backups, the other refs. And all of them, actually, David Guthrie and Bill Kennedy both favor the Los Angeles Lakers. Meanwhile, Mitchell Irvin favors the Golden State Warriors. So there's a little bit of a split with the ref crew for a Golden State and Lakers game. But I could see it going either way. I mean, in some ways, they got the home advantage, and 2 of the refs, including crew chief David Guthrie, the Lakers may be set up to win this one. And they may want that because they don't want the Lakers to look too bad this early in the series. They need them to have be up, kind of like Sacramento was, and have the Warriors come back and beat them. That's much better than the Warriors just whooping up on the Lakers and putting them out. So I could see the Lakers winning today, and I'm going to pick Miami. So I'm going with both the home teams again today. Now, they're doing an interesting thing tomorrow for the games. They're actually going to have the refs live tweet from the replay center tomorrow. So if you're watching the NBA, you can actually go on Twitter and listen to whoever's in the replay center talk about the game, the referee talking about it from a referee's perspective. And that's very interesting to me. In fact, I might actually watch the game just to hear how the ref perceives the game because of this situation on Twitter where they'll have live audio of whoever's in the replay center. Maybe it'll be Scott Foster, and we'll hear him actually talking about the game during the game as it happens and pointing out things that the refs are looking at and why they called things a certain way. I like this. I like transparency with the referees more and more. The more they're interacting with us, the more they're showing us stuff, the better. Because we need to know what the fuck they're doing and if they're underhanded and shady in any kind of way. So check that out. If you're interested in listening to the referees talking during the game, they're going to have that ability for us to watch on Twitter tomorrow, apparently on the NBA referee account. They'll have a live stream going from there, apparently, is what I'm hearing. Let's see. Cool Cat's here. Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. Good to see a cool cat tuning in very late. It's all good. It doesn't matter. Just come in when you want and just say hey, and we'll say hey back. Randolph Phillips is saying, good morning, beloved Raptor Freaks, most informative gang. Give Jeff a permanent role on this team. I like that. Backup point guard, Jeffrey Dowtin Jr., backup point guard. Bam. That's all we need. We need a backup point guard that can do backup point guard stuff and run this team correctly and in a sound, capable way. Jeffrey Dowtin Jr. is your man, whoever is the new head coach of the Toronto Raptors. That's right. Cool Cat saying Malachi can shoot. So can he be a heater off the bench and improve his value to trade? Maybe. That's what I've always hoped for him. Dowtin Jr. is a good backup point guard, and Banton a good backup to develop point guard and shooting guard. That's right. That's an important delineation that in some ways Delano is a shooting guard and more like a scorer. He can play point guard and bring the ball up the court, but in some ways, the way they played him in 905 last year with Dowtin was that Dowtin was the point guard and Delano was more like a slasher scorer shooting guard. Like he very much was getting the ball in his hand and he was attacking the rim and he was more in the 2 or 3 role even. So Delano's a weird hybrid. He doesn't have to play the 1. He can play the 2 or the 3 also. And that's something that's very versatile and fun about him. Now, I love what you're saying about Malachi. If he could be a heater on a consistent basis and come out and show like really high level shooting most of the time, I'd be much more happier with him. In fact, he'd probably be more ingratiated into our rotation and being more of a bigger player on our team the last couple of years if he had been successful at this. But quite often, we know how it is. It's all or nothing with him. It's feast or famine. Either we get the feast of really good shooting from him or there is nothing. And he just looks really bad. And in the cases when his shot is not going in, he's not contributing in any other way other than maybe a little bit of good defense and little bit of like good ball handling of controlling the ball and helping us in certain ways. But otherwise, he's just not giving us enough. Now, he does get some rebounds too, actually. It's really weird. Malachi will get in there and get some rebounds for a little guy too. So I'll give him credit for that. But if he could be a consistent like 3-point threat every time he comes to the game, he's just not that. And that's part of the biggest failure with him. It's too bad. All right, let's see. Wayne Strainer saying, wow, blasphemy, Lex. You saying we wouldn't win with DeMar is huge. DeMar is delusional. No tears from me when he was traded. He never improved in critical areas to get us over the hump. Casey allowed it. You know, I love DeMar, and I still celebrate him, and I want him to go to a team that will really appreciate him next season. It'd be really crazy if Kawhi does leave the Clippers and DeMar is like one of the main Clippers next year. That would be awesome. In fact, I know he wants that. It'd be great for him to play for one of the LA teams. I don't want him on the Lakers. That time has passed. He could have been on the Lakers, but they fucked up and got Russell Westbrook instead. He needs to go to the Clippers. And in some ways, maybe he needs to do this reverse thing with us as far as Kawhi coming here and him going away. When Kawhi goes away from the Clippers and he comes to the Clippers next season. I'm going to predict that right now, that DeMar DeRozan may be a Clipper next year. I think that they are being a little delusional. In some ways, he's got to say that just because it's his pride, it's his ego, and it's himself. He has to believe in himself that much, even if it's delusional. That's because NBA players have to be that way to get to that level where they're at. I don't know if this is blasphemy by me. I have to be realistic. I love this team, and I'm a very positive fan, but I have to be grounded in reality too. And at this point, I cannot say what Stephen A. Smith and DeMar DeRozan concur with it. I cannot. I don't believe it. I think that they needed at least Kawhi. Now, maybe they could have gotten away with Casey being still the coach and getting us through everything. But then again, you could start making arguments that maybe he wouldn't have made some of the adjustments that were important for us to win that championship because that was his Achilles heel. Is the same one as Budenholzer, not making adjustments quick enough during playoff games. And Nick was good at that. So that may be part of the difference too, that may make the part with Casey wrong too. Is like, can we say that Casey could have coached this team to championship too? I don't know if we can, because in some ways the X factor of Nick Nurse's adaptability and quick decision making may have been a factor also in us getting a championship. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Cool Cat saying Debo needs to stop answering those questions. Let it go. Debo wouldn't get it done. We had a tough fight to our chip. Embiid should not be on the court. Bad knee. Sixers play too slow with him. Yes, yes, and yes. I mean, Debo's going to be respectful of the interviewer. If they want to go in that direction, what is he going to say? No, we wouldn't have won it if I'd still been there. He can't say that. So in some ways, it's Stephen A. Smith's fault for bringing this bullshit up at this point. I don't think DeMar brings this up or thinks about this all the time in his regular life. It's being directed by Stephen A. in the interview that made it come up. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough because it's a very emotional thing. He gave his all to our team, and we love him, and he loves Toronto, and he even doubled down on it. And in that interview, he said, "I was so happy for the team." So happy for my guys that I played with the year before that got the championship, and so happy for the city and the country, Toronto and Canada, because I love those people too. So it's nothing but love from DeMar DeRozan, and that's the important thing. That's the important thing in all this. Logical saying Nick Nurse made certain decisions with the roster too. See, listen to this. This is exactly what we're talking about, Mike. I did not read your comment, and minds are thinking the same way, and he's saying the same damn thing that I just said. That Nick Nurse made certain decisions with the roster too. I don't know if Casey pushes Ibaka to center and moves OG back to the bench and starts Siakam with more freedom, plus the wall and box and one. I don't know if Casey, boom, minds thinking alike. There you go. Mike saying the same damn thing that I just said 5 minutes ago, and I had not read his comment yet. And he had wrote that before I said it. So we know right there that we came to the same kind of thought from that comment from Wayne Strainer at the same time. So very interesting. We're seeing it in process right in front of us in present. Fiercely saying, why did he go to Vegas? Was there a reason? He came back as Vegas Harden. That is funny. They could have kept this info. So unprofessional. I don't know. It's just a funny story. Maybe Doc thought it would be funny. Maybe they're cocky and they're arrogant and then they don't think these things matter involved in the playoffs. Well, you're down 1-2 now. They do matter. I don't know why I went to Vegas. I think it's because they had 3 days off in between the games, and James was bored. He's like, well, what the fuck am I going to do for 3 days? Oh, I want to go to Vegas. Doc, can I go to Vegas? Sure, go to Vegas. Dennis Rodman went to Vegas. It didn't matter. Okay, I'll go to Vegas. Boom, come back and shoot 3 for 14. Yeah. Shirkan saying, in a lot of ways, Nick Nurse stifled our bench by not playing the young ones through their mistakes. That's how NBA players grow. Look at Precious as an example. Not playing much in Miami, unlocked in Toronto vision. Yeah. This is why they got to be careful about if somebody's going to hire Nick Nurse, you better be in a certain kind of team. You better be more like our championship team than the team that we have right now. And that may be why he fits in Milwaukee. In some ways, he would be able to coach the Milwaukee Bucks in their present state, but he wouldn't fit in Houston. I know he wouldn't because of that reason we talked about. He's good for coaching vets that know what they're fucking doing, and they're at a high level already. He's not very good at coaching a young team that is developing and trying to learn. And that's why Nick Nurse, if anybody's going to hire him, you better make sure you're the kind of team that I described first and not the kind of team that I described second. And Milwaukee would fit. They would actually fit because of their core and the way they are. So I could see him going to Milwaukee and being somewhat successful there for sure. Let's see. Trevor J saying, I'm so excited to see who's going to be the new coach and get our team back on track. I know I am too. That's what I'm saying. There's promise there's promise and excitement in new changes and things developing and having a newness to them. That's exciting. All right, let me just go over a couple things and we'll wrap up. Not too long today, hopefully. Jeffrey Dowtin Jr., we love you, man. You're the kind of dude that Raptors fans can really get behind and love and cheer for because you're just like, in some ways, you're not an underdog. You're very much a perfectionist and you work very hard. You're a student of the game. You're humble. You just have a really good aura to you. You just seem like a really nice guy that's worked really hard. And in some ways, we root for you to get rewarded and get the things that you deserve. And that's part of the reason why there's so much rallying behind you at the end of the season to get converted from the two-way. Well, you need to know, Jeff, that the Raptors Nation loves you, and we want to share the love for you today and show appreciation for you, just in case. I know you're a restricted free agent, but just in case there's any kind of weird shit that goes on this summer, we need to make sure that you are respected and loved by the Raptors on a Share the Love Club today. And that's why we recognized you today, Jeffrey. Really, really good stuff. And we're going to be looking forward to seeing you do better and better things for the Raptors on the court next season. And you're the kind of guy that can hit a big shot late in the game that really matters and helps us win. Going back to just in general, Philly losing to Boston last night, where Joel Embiid stepped on Grant Williams' head, and Phoenix beating Denver Nuggets, even though their center walked off the court before the end of the game and didn't talk to any of the media or any of the players or anybody else, just fucking left DeAndre Ayton. Really crazy. There's reports that Kawhi Leonard has stopped talking to his teammates and coaches in LA. Wonder what that means. We've seen our Raptors all over the place down south in Florida. Scotty in Tallahassee, Pascal in Miami. Very cool to see our Raptors enjoying the sunshine in the Sunshine State. Yeah, the pictures of Joel stepping on Grant Hill's head are comical. They're really comical. It looks like a wrestling move. It's so crazy indeed. The referees for today, Mark Davis, Josh Tibbin, and Brian Forte are in Miami for game 3. They all favor the Miami Heat statistically from their records and their history as refs. And then for the second game, Golden State at the Lakers, game 3, David Guthrie and Bill Kennedy favor the Lakers. Meanwhile, Mitchell Irvin will favor the Golden State Warriors. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching me today. Let's see. Hang on, let me see what's going on. You guys wrote a couple more in here. Wayne saying, damn right, logical. Well said. Totally on cue. Totally on cue. DeMar's still delusional with major flaws. I don't think DeMar's delusional. Let's not characterize him like that. I love DeMar DeRozan. He has to think this way. All NBA players have to think they're better than they are just to be that good, to be able to be at that point. And they can be delusional to a point. There's a lot of people that are delusional and saying crazy things around the NBA. And DeMar is not just like one of them. There's a lot of them. So I'm not gonna, be nice to DeMar. Be nice to DeMar, Wayne. He is an important person in like my Raptor fandom throughout the history. And there's no reason to say that. He does have flaws with certain things in his game, but he's such a good player in most places. The defensive stuff is important, but there's so much that he does is very good. And I really, really love and respect him. So be careful here. Fiercely saying, Lex, when you cover coaches tomorrow, speak on Doc Rivers' future with the Sixers if they get eliminated. Ooh, maybe I will. Maybe I will, Fiercely, for sure. She's bringing it up tomorrow, Sunday special report. We're going to talk about championship coaches getting fired recently. We're specifically talking about Coach Budenholzer and Coach Nick Nurse. Maybe a little bit about Frank Vogel and the Lakers situation. Talk about Steve Kerr and why he's different. Just talking about coaches in general. And, I have a really interesting theory about what has happened and why this has happened to Nurse and Budenholzer recently. So tune in tomorrow, 9:30 a.m., Sunday special report. Championship coaches fired. What is this phenomenon? Yeah, we're going to get into it and talk about it in a deep way. And I'll bring in I'll talk about Doc Rivers a little bit with this. Actually, he's a very interesting case when it pertains to this subject, because in some ways he's been riding a surfboard that he could topple and wipe out off of at any moment, and he's still on that surfboard. We know Sixers Nation is not always that happy with Doc Rivers, and they call for his head quite often. So in some ways, he's on that surfboard, and with certain failure, he could be gone real quick. Shere Khan saying almost 20 people watching. Smash that like button. Thank you, Shere Khan. I appreciate that. Ahmed saying, yo, what's up, y'all? What are you guys up to this weekend? So anxious to wake up one morning and knowing who the new coach will be. If we somehow jump into the top 3 in the draft, I'm guessing we'll rebuild. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. If we get a high draft pick, we don't have to rebuild. That just means we're going to be in good shape. We got an even better player. And like getting in the top 3, that would be very highly unlikely, but we'll have to see. And yeah, I'm excited too. Like, I don't want breaking news to happen. I'm sure they'll do it during the day. It won't be some of these weird things where they make the decision in the middle of the night while everybody's sleeping, like getting Jakob Poeltl or Kawhi deciding to go to LA at like 3 a.m. No, they're going to announce the coach during the daytime, but not for you because you're in Israel. So you'll wake up and you'll see it. Fiercely saying, when clicking on the emojis, does that also help with the algorithm? I don't know. Maybe it could help. More emojis in the algorithm. I think emojis are always helpful in any kind of way, brightening your day. Mo's saying, happy birthday to former Raptor PJ Tucker, who turned 38, y'all. PJ Tucker is 38 years old, and you see what he's doing on the court for the Philadelphia 76ers. And yes, he is a former Raptor, so we can celebrate him here. Yet he may not have played many seasons with us, but still, it appears Messiah in Africa via Giants of Africa, Instagram, W Stream all around. Keep at it as always, Lex. Thank you, Monique. So Messiah's back in Africa working with Giants of Africa. Good stuff. I saw this really, really tall African guy that's over there, and he's like 7'9", but he's so slow. And I can tell you right now, he's not going to be in the NBA because he's so slow. He's so unathletic. But he is kind of weird because he can literally just dunk the ball without leaving his feet. He just reaches up and throws the ball through the hoop. And he is very much like scary to try and play around. Like you can't score on him. He's 7'9". It's really weird. But like I said, his body is weird. It's not athletic in certain ways. So he can't get up and down the court sprinting. He can't run, basically. So my draft, my scouting on him is like he's not going to be an NBA player, even though he's 7'9", which is absolutely crazy. Mike saying, W Stream, yeah, I touch on issues this season with Nick Nurse. Really narrowed scope on the issues this year. 24-minute video today. Awesome. 2:00. Check out Logical Raptors Fanatic. Y'all give him a follow and check out his stuff at 2:00. He's got something on Nick Nurse coming out at 2. So be ready for it. And Amit's saying, but when you guys are awake, I'll be sleeping. Yeah. Your birthday's in 13 days too. Well, remind us then. We'll definitely give you a happy birthday wishes on the stream when it's your birthday in 13 days. Oh yeah. Talking about things. Today is my 600th stream, 600 days consecutively in a row. So celebrate the Raptors Free channel and y'all for being here with me constantly too for 600 days straight. I have had a stream up every single day. Meanwhile, I'm hearing that Sportsnet is taking the Raptors show off YouTube this summer. They're taking all their content off of YouTube at this point. So there's more bigger piece of the pie for the Raptors Freak and people like Pensare and me. But yeah, 600 days consecutively streak going on the live streams here today. 600 days in a row. Bam. Good, awesome stuff. Fiercely saying, I mean the emojis we see on the side of the live chat. Awesome. Yeah, I see this stuff like when you guys do like love or like the little heart or stuff like that. I see it rise up on the side of the chat. So there are live reaction emojis. Yeah. Monique saying, congratulations on the stream. Salute, freaks. Congrats on 600. Infamous. You're still getting that dunk for yesterday. And I see all the hearts going up. See, whoever's doing that, I see 100% going up. Yeah, whoever's hitting those emojis, I can see them when you do them. Yep. Tom Duke. West Coast Raptor Freak President, 100% hearts. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate you. You've been very helpful in all kinds of ways. I appreciate you, Tom Duke, and I do want to come see you in BC this summer. I'm still trying to plan that. All right, you're the emoji queen? We'll make you the emoji queen. How about that? Tom has been the emoji. He does emoji language, but fiercely, if you want emojis to be one of your things, you go ahead. We'll make you the emoji queen for sure. Isaac Campbell's got the heart. I appreciate you too. Also, Isaac, holding it down in Ottawa. You guys are just awesome. Raptor Freak family, I love y'all. Y'all are a big part of this channel. I couldn't do it without y'all, for sure. Seriously, for sure. All right, y'all. Tomorrow, Sunday Report, 9:30 a.m. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And thank you for helping me get to 600, baby. Next thing you know, I'll be at 700, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 100,000. Whoa, that would be crazy. How long would it take me to get 100,000? That may be way too crazy. I might be like 100 years old by then. Yes, Tom sticks with the menu. Okay, you just want to help boosting the channel. All right, I like that. Help me boost, and Tom will get the food for the referees as usual. All right, y'all. Have a great Saturday. Get outside. It's beautiful in the 416. It's sunny outside. Finally getting some good spring, summer kind of weather. Maybe no rain today finally. So good day to get outside, touch grass, like Scotty would say. All right, y'all. Have a great Saturday, and let's go Raptors. Yeah, baby.